Welcome to the Containment Zone. Some anomalies walk, some speak, some destroy, but a very few, simply exist. They lie in wait, not in darkness, but in the center of something we believe we understand: the human body. SCP-007 is a man. He eats, he breathes, he dreams. But inside his abdomen, beneath his skin and bone, there is no stomach, no intestines, no organs at all. There is only land, water, atmosphere, and a small rotating sphere. A living miniature planet nestled beneath his ribs, as if it belongs there. He is not injured, he is not in pain, but no one can explain why a man walks the earth with a world inside his chest, and what happens if that world ever wakes up. The subject was first encountered in London, a transient, unremarkable in appearance, demeanor, or background. He was detained following an incident at a public clinic, complaining of abdominal pressure and feeling the weather change inside me. When scanned, physicians assumed a machine error. There were no organs. Instead, beneath his skin, imaging revealed a cavity, roughly 25 centimeters in diameter, containing what appeared to be a complete ecosystem: clouds, atmosphere, bodies of water, land masses with visible elevation, and at its center, suspended in slow axial rotation, a planet. Roughly the size of a grapefruit, it had polar caps, continental ridges, and lights, tiny twinkling clusters of energy. That pulsed just beneath its dark side. It was alive. He was transported to Foundation custody within 12 hours. Upon arrival, he submitted willingly. No resistance, no demands. Just a single statement repeated during each interview: "I'm not sick. I'm the vessel." When questioned about his identity, he offered a name, Daniel Grant, but no matching birth records exist. DNA analysis confirms his humanity, but there are mutations, not foreign, but ancient. Markers not seen in any modern genome. He eats normally, sleeps, dreams, but his heart beats around a world, and his body hums, as if it's remembering a rhythm it was never meant to play. Daily scans revealed something astonishing. The internal planet, classified as SCP-007-1, wasn't static. It rotated on a stable axis, completing one full revolution every 23.7 hours. Its surface changed over time. Cloud formations shifted, storm systems formed and dissipated. Temperatures varied slightly along equatorial and polar regions, and occasionally, at night, faint light clusters would glow near the edges of land masses. At first, they were dismissed as atmospheric anomalies. Then one of them moved, linear progression, point to point, like a vehicle, or something following a path. It wasn't a planet. It was a world. Dr. Lindholm, lead analyst for 007-1, made the following journal entry: "We are not watching weather. We are watching history, civilization in miniature. It is alive in there, and it does not know we're watching." Following that entry, access to 007-1 imagery was restricted. Too many researchers began experiencing cognitive entanglement, reporting dreams from the perspective of tiny figures on the surface, villages, sky patterns, war drums in distant canyons they'd never seen. One researcher described it as a world with memories that bleed. As for Daniel Grant, he remained unchanged, still calm, still unafraid. His vitals aligned perfectly with the planetary cycle. As the planet slept, his body rested. As it turned toward day, his body warmed. He reported mild sensations, pressure in the lungs during internal storms, drowsiness near planetary dusk, dreams of crowded skies and distant bells. No discomfort, no rejection, only a deep, abiding certainty. Whatever it is, he said, I was made to carry it. As the investigation into SCP-007 deepened, a parallel inquiry emerged. One not of physics or biology, but of myth. Researchers combed through global folklore, looking for parallels, stories of men who carried worlds. They found more than expected. In Hindu cosmology, ancient texts speak of Vishnu, carrying universes within the folds of his skin, entire cycles of reality compressed into divine flesh. In Mayan legend, there is the tale of the fifth son, a being born with a heart made of stone and a belly full of stars. In medieval Slavic manuscripts, a saint walks the land with a shadow that flickers like a distant storm. His followers say he carries the sky beneath his ribs. But the most chilling discovery came from a Sumerian clay tablet, untranslated until recently. It depicts a humanoid figure, standing with chest bared, and inside, carved in painful detail, a full spherical world, resting against his lungs. The glyph beside it reads, "He who bears the breath of Yalom. Through him, it remembers." No records of Yalom exist in any known pantheon, but in the dialect used on that tablet, the root word for Yalom translates roughly to the forgotten god who dreams in men. Was SCP-007 a host, a relic, or a vessel for something older than belief? The legends seemed less like stories and more like warnings, that such a being would walk unnoticed, until the world inside him was ready to speak again. At precisely 3:17 GMT on a Thursday morning, the atmosphere inside SCP-007-1 changed. What had been a peaceful rotation, a silent drift of cloud and current, became a storm, but not a weather pattern. This was deliberate, organized. Multiple cyclonic systems began forming at once, over land and sea. Winds coalesced into spirals centered around 5 glowing points, previously assumed to be geological. But now, they pulsed in synchrony, like neurons. Electrical interference spiked across the site's surveillance grid. Every researcher assigned to the project reported intense, identical dreams. A towering obelisk buried in red sand, a sky with 2 suns, a voice whispering in a forgotten tongue, but one that felt familiar. When staff awoke, some spoke words they could not remember learning. Others sketched glyphs, spirals, maps, cities, and one phrase was repeated across 7 reports. It sees itself. Inside the chamber, Daniel Grant began to shiver. His pulse aligned with the storm's epicenter. A fever rose and broke in minutes. His skin flickered with iridescence, colors matching cloud patterns on 007-1. He opened his eyes and said, "I felt it dreaming. It's not asleep anymore." Then collapsed. He remained unconscious for 7 hours. When he woke, his voice was different, not deeper, not distorted, just borrowed, as if a second tone rode beneath every word. A follow-up scan revealed a new development inside the planet: structures, lines, networks. They had not been there before, or maybe they had, and only now did they choose to let us see. SCP-007-1 was no longer passive. It was aware, it was learning, and it had begun to respond. Over the next 4 days, SCP-007 entered a phase of unpredictable biological fluctuation. Daniel Grant's vitals shifted in tandem with planetary weather patterns. His blood pressure rising with internal wind speeds, his breathing slowing when clouds passed over oceans inside him. But then came the growth. The spherical world within his abdominal cavity expanded, slowly, silently, by almost 2.3 centimeters. No breach, no trauma. His torso didn't swell. The cavity simply deepened, as if the internal space had begun bending away from the physical world. X-ray probes lost resolution beyond a certain depth. Matter inside the cavity appeared to be receding into a non-Euclidean fold, not growing larger, but moving inward, as if the planet was building more of itself, somewhere we couldn't see. At the same time, strange reports began surfacing among nearby site personnel. Electronics flickered when Daniel passed nearby. Staff working near his chamber began hearing echoes, not of words, but of terrain, wind across fields, waves lapping at cliffs, distant birdsong. One janitor dropped to his knees outside the chamber and whispered, "I was there, in a valley with 2 moons. I heard the bells again." He had no known prior exposure. A new hypothesis emerged. SCP-007 was not merely hosting a world, he was becoming a bridge, a living interface between realities. One that allowed the world inside to understand us, and perhaps to find a way out. Because containment is a concept we built. A wall meant to hold back forces we don't understand. But SCP-007 doesn't resist it, it ignores it, as if the body it inhabits is just a shell, meant to carry it forward to the next threshold. And somewhere deep inside that sphere, among clouds, stone, and silent cities, something has begun to move. SCP-007 remains in stable containment. He is calm, cooperative, even kind. He smiles during interviews, asks how the staff are doing, sleeps quietly beneath the humming of environmental controls. But the scans tell a different story. The internal world continues to shift. Its terrain grows more complex, no longer simple land masses, but networks, structures, symmetries impossible in natural evolution. Cloud formations repeat themselves like words. Lights flicker in what can only be described as patterns. And the atmosphere has changed. It is no longer inert, it is coded. Daniel says less these days, not out of fear, but focus. Sometimes he hums, a low circular melody that spirals in and out of rhythm. A song that no one taught him, but that every researcher who hears it remembers from a dream they can't quite name. When asked how he feels, he responds, "It's close now. I think it's waiting to be seen." Then touches his chest and adds, "It wants to be known." There is no expansion breach, no aggression, no ultimatum, just the slow pressure of something ancient and patient, growing inside a human shape, carving space where there should be none. And the uneasy realization, this may not be the first time. Other worlds, other vessels, other Daniels who never knew what they were carrying, until the moment it finally outgrew the need to be hidden. Thank you for entering another anomaly in the containment zone. And if, one day, you feel something behind your ribs, not pain, not illness, but the soft turning of something vast and unfamiliar, like the surface of a world beneath your breath, listen closely, not to your heartbeat, but to what might be beating behind it, because you may not be alone inside your skin, and whatever's with you may be waiting to wake up